The final mission. Commander Elena Vasquez ran her hand along the worn corridor wall of the Cipher-8, feeling the subtle vibrations that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat. 20 years of service had left their mark on both the ship and its captain. "Status report," she called out as she entered the bridge, the doors wheezing as they reluctantly slid open. Lieutenant Commander Rahul Patel looked up from his station, dark circles under his eyes betraying the overnight diagnostics he'd insisted on completing himself. "Same as yesterday, Captain. Life support operating at 87% efficiency. Propulsion systems at 92%. Weapons," he hesitated, "functional." Vasquez nodded, settling into her command chair. The artificial leather cracked beneath her weight. Another repair request denied by command. Through the main view screen, she watched the gleaming new vessels of the Earth Systems Alliance float past, their hulls unmarred by battle scars, their systems state-of-the-art. "They're sending the Hyperion to ceremonially escort us," First Officer Marcus Chen said, sliding a data tablet across to her. "Apparently Admiral Reynolds wants to make sure the old girl makes it to the scriptyard without breaking down." Vasquez's jaw tightened as she scanned the orders. "We're not dead yet, XO. What's this about an anomaly in the Arcturus sector?" "Last-minute assignment," Chen replied, his expression carefully neutral. "Command wants us to investigate unusual energy signatures near Outpost Delta 9 before decommissioning." "Busy work," Tactical Officer Diana Wright scoffed from her station. "Keeping the outdated relic out of sight while they parade their shiny new toys at the Centennial Fleet Review." "Maybe so," Vasquez said, rising to her feet. "But it's still a mission, and the Cipher-8 has never failed a mission on my watch." She addressed the bridge crew, all veterans who had chosen to remain aboard instead of transferring to newer vessels. "I know what they say about us. That we're obsolete. That ships like the Cipher-8 have no place in the modern Alliance fleet. But I've seen those advanced ships retreat when things get ugly. I've watched their pristine captains hesitate when split-second decisions mean the difference between life and death." She gestured to the worn bridge around them. "This ship has survived 3 wars, 2 first contacts gone wrong, and more pirate encounters than I care to remember. Not because it's the strongest or the fastest, but because of the people who serve on it." The bridge fell silent as her words sank in. "Now," she continued, "let's show them what an outdated ship can do." "Lieutenant Park, set course for Arcturus sector. Chief Patel, I want those sensors optimized for deep space scanning. If there's an anomaly out there, we're going to find it." As the crew sprang into action, Vasquez turned to Chen. "XO, my ready room, please." Once the doors closed behind them, Vasquez's professional demeanor cracked slightly. "What aren't they telling us, Marcus? The Arcturus sector is practically uncharted. Why send a ship they consider obsolete to investigate something potentially dangerous?" Chen leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "I made some discreet inquiries. 3 research vessels have gone missing in that sector in the past month. No distress signals, no debris. They just vanished. And command didn't think that was worth mentioning in our orders." Vasquez's eyes narrowed. "The official stance is that it's a sensor malfunction or a natural phenomenon," Chen replied. "But I have a contact in intelligence who says they're picking up communications they can't decipher, something completely alien." Vasquez moved to the small viewport, watching as the Cipher-8 broke formation with the main fleet, setting course for the edge of known space. "So they're sending us because we're expendable. Or," Chen suggested, "because despite what they say publicly, they know the Cipher-8 can handle itself when things get ugly." "Let's hope it's the latter," Vasquez said quietly. "Alert the senior staff. I want everyone briefed on what we might be facing." 3 days later, the Cipher-8 dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates provided by command. The bridge was silent as the view screen adjusted to show what appeared to be empty space. "Sensors detecting anything, Chief?" Vasquez asked. Patel frowned at his readings. "Nothing yet, Captain, but there's unusual background radiation. Something's not right about this region of space. Full sensor sweep. All frequencies. Vasquez ordered. Lieutenant Wright, keep weapons on standby, but don't power up yet. As the minutes stretched into an hour with no findings, tension on the bridge began to ease. Perhaps command had been right. Just a sensor malfunction. Captain. Communications officer Lena Ortega suddenly called out, "I'm picking up a signal. Very faint, but definitely artificial." Source. Vasquez demanded. "Uncertain, but it's coming from bearing 227 Mark 35, approximately half a light-year from our position. That would put it near the asteroid belt at the edge of this system," Chen observed. Vasquez didn't hesitate. "Lieutenant Park, set course. Chief Patel, continue scanning. I want to know what we're dealing with before we get too close." As the Cipher-8 approached the asteroid belt, the sensor readings became clearer. Hidden among the tumbling rocks was a structure, artificial and massive. "It's roughly cylindrical," Patel reported, "approximately 3 kilometers in length. Composition unknown. Our sensors can't penetrate the outer hull." "Life signs?" Vasquez asked. "None that I can detect, but that doesn't mean much with these readings." The view screen zoomed in on the structure. It was unlike anything in Alliance records, a smooth metallic cylinder with intricate patterns etched across its surface, patterns that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. "It's beautiful," Ortega whispered. "And dangerous," Wright added. "Captain, I'm detecting energy buildup within the structure. It's preparing to do something." Before Vasquez could respond, a blinding light erupted from the cylinder, enveloping the Cipher-8 in a prismatic beam. The ship shuddered violently. "Evasive maneuvers," Vasquez shouted, but Park's hands froze over the controls. "Navigation's not responding, Captain. None of the systems are." The view screen flickered, displaying only static before going completely dark. Emergency lighting bathed the bridge in an eerie red glow. "Status report," Vasquez demanded. "All systems offline," Patel replied, frantically working his console. "Wait, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from inside the ship." The main view screen suddenly flickered back to life, but instead of showing the space outside, it displayed a series of rapidly shifting symbols. "It's some kind of data transfer," Patel said, his voice tense. "The ship's computer is accepting it." "Shut it down," Vasquez ordered. "I can't. Whatever this is, it's bypassing all our security protocols." As the crew watched helplessly, the symbols continued to flash across the screen. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, everything stopped. The lights returned to normal, and the view screen once again showed the mysterious cylinder. "What just happened?" Vasquez demanded. Before anyone could answer, proximity alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple contacts," Wright shouted. "Ships dropping out of hyperspace. Configuration unknown." The view screen shifted to show a dozen sleek vessels emerging from hyperspace, their designs utterly alien, all sharp angles and pulsing with an ominous purple energy. "They're powering weapons," Wright reported. "Shields up. Battle stations," Vasquez ordered. "XO, prepare to send an emergency transmission to command. They need to know what we found." The first volley from the alien vessels struck before the Cipher-8's shields were fully raised, rocking the ship violently. "Shields at 62%, Wright called out. "Their weapons are cutting through our defenses like they're not even there." Vasquez gripped her command chair. "Return fire. All batteries." The Cipher-8's outdated weapons seemed to have minimal effect on the alien vessels, the energy beams barely dimming their shields. "Captain," Chen said urgently, "at this rate, we won't last 5 minutes. We need to retreat." Another blast rocked the ship, sending sparks cascading from overhead conduits. "Hull breach on deck 4, Patel reported. "Emergency force fields holding but failing." Vasquez knew Chen was right. They were outmatched. But retreat meant leaving whatever this alien technology was in potentially hostile hands. Lieutenant Park, prepare to jump to hyperspace, she ordered reluctantly. Plot a course back to. She was interrupted by a strange humming that seemed to emanate from the very bones of the ship. The bridge lighting flickered, then stabilized with a different hue, slightly bluer than before. "Captain," Paddle said, his voice filled with disbelief, "something's happening to our systems. The computer is changing." The symbols they had seen earlier briefly flashed across all consoles, then disappeared, replaced by the normal interface, but with subtle differences. "Weapons systems coming online," Wright reported, sounding confused. "But they're different. Power readings are off the charts." The alien data transfer, Chen realized. It's modified our Systevasc has had only seconds to make a decision. "Lieutenant Wright, target the lead vessel and fire." The Cipher-8's main cannon discharged, but instead of the familiar red beam, a bright blue energy pulse erupted, tearing through space and striking the alien ship. To everyone's shock, the vessel's shields collapsed immediately, and the ship itself broke apart. "How?" Wright gasped. "Whatever that cylinder is," Paddle said, "it just gave us their weapons technology." The remaining alien vessels paused their attack, seemingly reassessing the situation. "They're regrouping," Chen observed. "This is our chance to escape." But Vasquez saw another opportunity. "No, this is our chance to find out who they are and what they want. Lieutenant Ortega, are we still receiving that signal from the cylinder?" "Yes, Captain. It's stronger now." "Can you isolate it? Determine if it's trying to communicate." Before Ortega could respond, the alien vessels resumed their attack with increased ferocity. The Cipher-8 rocked under the concentrated barrage. "Shields failing," Wright warned. "Multiple hull breaches." "Captain, we need to leave now," Chen insisted. Vasquez made her decision. "Lieutenant Park, take us closer to the cylinder." "Captain," Park questioned, uncertain. "Do it. Full impulse." As the Cipher-8 accelerated toward the mysterious structure, the alien vessels pursued, their weapons carving into the ship's hull. "Life support failing. Reactor stability critical," Patel reported, his console erupting in sparks. When they were less than a kilometer from the cylinder, its surface began to ripple like liquid metal. A section opened, revealing a cavernous interior bathed in blue light. "Take us in," Vasquez ordered. The Cipher-8 limped into the massive opening, the pursuing alien vessels closing in behind them. As soon as they entered, the opening began to seal itself. Two alien ships managed to follow them inside before the entrance closed completely, cutting off the rest from pursuit. Inside was a vast chamber that seemed to defy the external dimensions of the cylinder. It stretched beyond what should have been possible, filled with structures that appeared both organic and mechanical. "What is this place?" Chen whispered. Before anyone could respond, the two alien vessels that had followed them opened fire again. The Cipher-8, already critically damaged, could not withstand much more. Suddenly, the entire chamber pulsed with blue energy. The alien ships froze in space, caught in some kind of stasis field. The Cipher-8, too, stopped moving. "We're being scanned," Paddle reported. "Something is accessing our database, our logs, everything." A voice, both in their heads and seemingly from the ship itself, spoke in perfect standard. "Defenders against the Harbingers. Acceptable. Integration will commence." The blue energy intensified, surrounding the Cipher-8 completely. "Captain, we're losing contact with command," Ortega reported frantically. "All communications are being blocked." The last thing Naval Command received from the Cipher-8 was a fragmented distress call, reporting unknown hostiles and an artificial structure before the transmission cut off with a burst of static. The ship and its crew were officially declared lost in action 3 days later, presumed destroyed by what Command classified as hostile forces of unknown origin. The Cipher-8, the ship they called outdated, had vanished without a trace. The impossible return. 6 months after the disappearance of the Cipher-8, Lieutenant Commander Sasha Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the ESA Hyperion, staring at sensor readings that made no sense. "Run the analysis again," she ordered her science officer. "I've run it 3 times, Commander," Lieutenant Quame O.C. replied. "The results are consistent. Whatever defended Outpost Gamma-7 from the alien attack matches no known Alliance vessel." He hesitated, but the energy signature, it has similarities to the Cipher-8. Rodriguez frowned. This was the 3rd frontier outpost in as many weeks to report the same phenomenon. An attack by the mysterious alien vessels that had been terrorizing the border for months, followed by the appearance of an unidentified ship that decimated the attackers before vanishing. "The Cipher-8 was destroyed," she stated flatly. "There were no survivors." "Yes, Commander, but the outpost's visual records." OC transferred the footage to the main view screen. The grainy recording showed a vessel engaging the alien attackers. Though heavily modified and partially obscured by some kind of energy field, the basic silhouette was unmistakable. "It's impossible," Rodriguez whispered. "Commander," Communications Officer Torres interrupted. "Incoming transmission from Alliance Command. Priority Alpha. Admiral Reynolds." Rodriguez straightened her uniform. "Put it through." Admiral Reynolds' stern face appeared on screen. "Commander Rodriguez, your vessel is being temporarily reassigned. Proceed immediately to coordinates I'm transmitting now." "May I ask why, Admiral?" Reynolds' expression remained impassive. "You're to rendezvous with a special operations team investigating the recurring appearance of an unidentified vessel. Initial analysis suggests it may be related to the Cipher-8 incident." Rodriguez's eyebrows rose. "The Cipher-8, but you classified it as destroyed." "That remains the official position," Reynolds said sharply. "This investigation is classified. Top-level clearance only." "Understood, Admiral." After the transmission ended, Rodriguez turned to her navigation officer. "Lieutenant, set course for these coordinates. Maximum speed." 2 days later, the Hyperion arrived at a remote region of space near the Arcturus sector, the same area where the Cipher-8 had disappeared. A research vessel, the Galileo, was already there, surrounded by a small escort of military ships. As Rodriguez transported aboard the Galileo, she was met by a familiar face. Commander Marcus Chen, former XO of the Cipher-8. "Commander Rodriguez," Chen greeted her formally. "Thank you for coming." "Commander Chen," she replied, surprised. "I was told you were among the missing." A tight smile crossed his face. "That's the official story. The truth is more complicated. Please, follow me." He led her to a secure conference room where several other officers waited, including Admiral Reynolds himself. "Commander," Reynolds nodded to her. "What you're about to hear is classified beyond top secret. 6 months ago, the Cipher-8 encountered a piece of technology beyond anything we've seen, possibly of precursor origin." "Precursors?" Rodriguez questioned. "The theoretical advanced civilization that predated all known species." "No longer theoretical," Chen corrected. "During our encounter, the Cipher-8 was severely damaged. Captain Vasquez made the decision to seek shelter inside the precursor artifact." "What happened next?" "He activated a holographic display showing fragmentary logs from the Cipher-8, recorded after their disappearance." Captain Vasquez's voice came through, distorted but recognizable. "Integration process continuing. The ship is being rebuilt from the inside out. Patel says it's utilizing nanomolecular technology centuries beyond our understanding. The artifact, which calls itself the Archive, communicates sporadically. It identified the attacking aliens as harbingers, apparently an ancient enemy of the precursors." The log continued, describing how the Archive had chosen the Cipher-8 and its crew as worthy successors to continue the precursors' mission of preventing the harbingers from reclaiming ancient technologies scattered throughout the galaxy. The archive integrated its systems with ours, Chen explained after the log ended. It essentially rebuilt the Cipher-8 from the inside out, incorporating precursor technology, while maintaining our basic structure and identity. The process took months from our perspective, but due to temporal anomalies within the archive, almost no time passed outside. "Where is the Cipher-8 now?" Rodriguez asked. "We don't know exactly," Reynolds admitted. Captain Vasquez and a skeleton crew remained with the ship, while I and a few others were sent back in a shuttle to brief command. The Cipher-8 has been engaging Harbinger forces along the border, defending our colonies, but they can't maintain prolonged contact due to the risk of being traced back to Earth. The Harbingers want the archive's technology, Chen added, and they now see humanity as an obstacle to acquiring it. Reynolds leaned forward. "Which brings us to why you're here, Commander. We've developed a method to communicate briefly with the Cipher-8, but we need a ship the Harbingers aren't tracking to make contact." Rodriguez understood immediately. "The Hyperion." "Exactly," Reynolds confirmed. "You'll rendezvous with the Cipher-8 at coordinates we believe they'll appear next, based on Harbinger movement patterns. You'll deliver crucial intelligence and a scientific team that will help them stabilize the precursor technology." "And if the Harbingers find us first?" Rodriguez asked. "Then God help us all," Reynolds said grimly. 3 days later, the Hyperion waited at the designated coordinates, running silent to avoid detection. Rodriguez paced the bridge, anxiety mounting with each passing hour. "Still no sign of the Cipher-8, Osai reported from his station. But I am detecting unusual spatial distortions approximately 20,000 kilometers off our port bow." "On screen," Rodriguez ordered. The view screen showed empty space, then a ripple like heat waves on a desert horizon. Slowly, a shape began to materialize, a ship, but unlike any Alliance vessel Rodriguez had ever seen. The basic structure of the Cipher-8 was still recognizable, but it was now overlaid with an intricate lattice of glowing blue energy pathways. Sections of the hull seemed to phase in and out of normal space, making it difficult to focus on any one part of the ship. "It's beautiful," Osai breathed. "And terrifying," Rodriguez added. "Open a channel." Before she could say anything else, the Hyperion systems suddenly activated on their own, displays changing to show unfamiliar interfaces. "Something's accessing our computer," Torres reported, alarmed. A voice came through the speakers, Captain Vasquez, but somehow different, her voice overlaid with harmonic tones. "Hyperion, stand by for data transfer. Time is limited." Rodriguez hesitated only briefly. "Acknowledged, Cipher-8. We have a scientific team ready for transport." "Negative," Vasquez replied. "No personnel transfers. The integration process is not suitable for untrained individuals. We will accept the data package only." Reynolds, standing behind Rodriguez, stepped forward. "Captain Vasquez, this is Admiral Reynolds. We need to understand what you've discovered. The Alliance is preparing for potential full-scale conflict with these Harbingers." "The Alliance is not ready," Vasquez stated flatly. "The Harbingers are merely an advance force. Their main fleet approaches from beyond the galactic rim." "How do you know this?" Reynolds demanded. "The archive has shared its knowledge. We see probabilities, timelines, possibilities." Vasquez's voice sounded increasingly distant. "We're transmitting everything we've learned about Harbinger weaknesses and technologies. Implement these defenses immediately." As they spoke, massive data packages streamed into the Hyperion's computers. Technical specifications, weapons designs, shield modifications, all far beyond current Alliance technology. Suddenly, alarms blared across both ships. "Harbinger vessels detected." Wright's voice came through the comm. "Multiple signatures, approaching rapidly." "They'd found us." "Hyperion, you must leave," Vasquez ordered. "Now. We will draw them away." Rodriguez looked to Reynolds, who nodded grimly. "Captain Vasquez," the Admiral said, "the Alliance owes you and your crew a debt we can never repay." The debt is to the archive, not to us, Vasquez replied. It chose humanity because it saw something in us that it believed could stand against the darkness. Don't prove it wrong. The Cipher-8 began to move away, its modified engines leaving trails of blue energy that seemed to bend the fabric of space itself. Wait, Rodriguez called out. When will you return? There was a long pause before Vasquez answered, her voice momentarily more human. When we're needed most. The archive has shown us possibilities, paths. Some lead to victory, others to extinction. We will do what we can to guide humanity toward the former. As the Harbinger ships appeared on long-range sensors, the Cipher-8 accelerated to impossible speed, its form shifting partially out of normal spacetime. The enemy vessels immediately changed course to pursue, ignoring the Hyperion completely. They're fixated on the Cipher-8, OC observed. It's what they really want. Or what they really fear, Reynolds corrected quietly. 3 weeks later, Rodriguez stood in Alliance headquarters as Admiral Reynolds presented the findings from their encounter to the High Command. The senior officers listened in stunned silence as he described the transformed Cipher-8 and the threat posed by the Harbingers. The ship they deemed outdated and worthy only of the scrapyard, Reynolds concluded, may now be humanity's greatest asset in the coming conflict. Captain Vasquez and her crew have made themselves the front line in a war most of us didn't even know was coming. And we're supposed to just wait, one general asked incredulously. Hope that this ghost ship appears when we need it. No, Reynolds replied firmly. We prepare. The Cipher-8 bought us time and gave us technology. Now it's our responsibility to use it. He gestured to a holographic display showing the implementation of precursor defensive systems already underway at key Alliance outposts. We've also recovered what we believe to be the location of additional precursor artifacts, Reynolds continued. The Galileo will lead a research fleet to investigate them, with Commander Rodriguez in charge of security. Rodriguez looked up in surprise. Your encounter with the Cipher-8 makes you uniquely qualified, Reynolds told her. And there's something else you should know. Before they disappeared, Captain Vasquez transmitted one final personal message. For you. Later, alone in her quarters, Rodriguez played the message. Vasquez's face appeared, more human than during their encounter, though still bearing subtle changes, her eyes occasionally shifting to a luminous blue. Commander, by now you understand what we've become. Not quite human anymore, but not fully something else either. The bridge between worlds. The archive chose the Cipher-8, not because we were the strongest or the most advanced, but because we were adaptable. Because despite being considered obsolete, we never stopped evolving. Vasquez smiled sadly. The Harbingers fear change. They seek to preserve an eternal static order. Humanity's greatest strength is its capacity for growth, for transformation. The Alliance called us outdated, but we were simply on a different path. Her image flickered. We can't come home. Not yet. But we're still out there, watching. When the Harbingers return in force, look to the edge of charted space. The ship they called outdated will be there. The message ended, leaving Rodriguez staring at her reflection in the darkened screen. Outside her viewport, Alliance vessels prepared for war against an enemy they barely understood, armed with technology they were only beginning to comprehend. And somewhere beyond conventional space, a ship that should have been scrapped months ago continued its solitary vigil, humanity's first, unexpected line of defense against the gathering storm. The ship they had called outdated had become their greatest hope.